Welcome to the video on the lease buyout trap. Today we'll demystify when buying out your leased car makes sense and when walking away is the smarter move. We'll focus on what actually changes your total cost, how interest rates dominate the decision, how to compare market value versus your fixed buyout price, how state laws and dealer requirements affect your process, and why your timing only matters for deadlines and rates, not the principal cost. First, we'll outline the agenda. Then we'll explore each concept step by step. Here's our roadmap. First, we'll clarify the goal of saving money and avoiding common buyout mistakes. Next, we'll cover the fundamentals of residual value and market value. Then, we'll explain why timing rarely changes the principal buyout price, but why deadlines and clearances do matter. After that, we'll focus on financing rates and their outsized impact. We'll also show you how to compare market value to your buyout price to decide whether to buy or walk away. Furthermore, we'll review state laws that might require using a dealership and how that can introduce fees. Then, we'll discuss refinancing after the title transfer. Finally, we'll present an action plan, followed by a quick quiz to reinforce key points. Before we begin, this content is strictly educational and does not constitute financial, legal, or tax advice. Regulations and lender policies vary by state and institution, and your situation may be unique. Therefore, consult your lender, leasing company, dealership as required by your state, and your DMV before making any decisions. With that established, let's move into the fundamentals. Let's define terms. The residual value is the contractually fixed price the lease predicted for your vehicle at maturity. The principal buyout price is typically the residual value plus any remaining depreciation and fees as specified in your lease. A common misconception is that buying now versus closer to maturity changes that principal price meaningfully. In most cases, it does not, because the residual is fixed. What does materially change your total cost are your financing terms, especially your interest rate, along with lender fees, tax treatment, and any dealer or state-mandated processing. Now that we understand the baseline, let's examine how timing affects logistics rather than price. This flowchart begins with the lease ending soon. The first decision is whether the market value is significantly less than the buyout price. If it is, the optimal path is to turn the vehicle in and walk away, because purchasing an underwater lease destroys value. If the market value is equal to or greater than the buyout price, the next check is financing. You should compare rates from multiple lenders. If a favorable rate is available now, buying now is recommended. If not, you might wait. But anticipate that waiting rarely changes the buyout principle and introduces risks such as processing delays or rate increases. The next gate is state law verification. Some states require processing through an authorized dealership, which can add fees and time. Another critical step is to start the buyout at least 10 days before maturity, especially around holidays, to ensure all paperwork and payments clear. Finally, after title transfer, consider refinancing promptly if a better rate becomes available to reduce your total interest cost. With this overview, let's zoom in on timing and deadlines. Regarding timing, begin your buyout process at least 10 days before your official maturity date. This buffer is critical around holidays, weekends, and bank closures when processing slows. While buying now versus a few weeks later typically does not change your principal buyout price, delays can create logistical problems, late fees, or even lease extension complications. Therefore, treat timing as a risk management factor rather than a price lever. Next, let's visualize the schedule on a timeline. This timeline highlights the final 45 days before lease maturity. From days 45 to 20, you should shop for rates and assess the vehicle's market value. Between days 20 and 12, verify state laws and whether a dealership must process the transaction while gathering necessary documents. From days 12 to 10, choose your lender and lock your rate if available. On day 10, begin the buyout paperwork and submit payments. During days 9 through 3, allow for processing buffers, track progress, and complete any dealership steps if your state requires them. In the final 2 days, confirm insurance and prepare for title transfer. The goal is to finish everything before the actual maturity date, especially accounting for weekends and holidays. Now, let's compare buying now versus waiting. On the left, buying now lets you lock in a favorable interest rate immediately, which protects you if market rates rise. It also gives you more time to resolve paperwork issues and starts the clock for potential refinancing after title transfer. On the right, Waiting could theoretically expose you to a slightly better lender offer later, but it also increases the risk that rates rise or promotions end. Waiting reduces your buffer to navigate state or dealer processing, and, importantly, it rarely changes the principal buyout cost because the residual is fixed. Therefore, the key variable remains the rate, not the date. Next, let's quantify the impact of different interest rates. This table illustrates how APR alters your total cost. For a $25,000 loan over 60 months, a 5% APR yields an estimated monthly payment around $472 and roughly $3,320 of total interest. At 7.5%, payments rise to about $500, with around $5,000 in interest. At 9.5%, the monthly climbs to about $524, with approximately $6,440 in interest. Therefore, even modest APR changes have a large impact over 5 years. With that in mind, let's outline steps to secure the best rate. First, pre-qualify with 2 to 4 sources, such as a credit union, a bank, and reputable online lenders. Second, request complete loan estimates, including APR, origination fees, and any prepayment penalties. Third, compare the all-in cost, rather than focusing solely on the headline APR. Fourth, if your preferred lender offers a rate lock and the quote is competitive, lock it. Fifth, keep the captive financing offer as a benchmark, but do not assume it is the cheapest. Sixth, once your title transfer is complete, return to refinancing offers within 30 to 90 days to capture any improved rate. Next, let's discuss state laws and dealer requirements that can affect the process. Depending on your state, you may be required to process the buyout through an authorized dealership. This introduces potential dealer fees, additional paperwork, and longer timelines. You should confirm the required DMV steps, tax treatment, and expected title transfer timing in advance. Doing so prevents surprises and helps you decide when to initiate the process, especially to ensure completion before maturity. Now, let's evaluate whether the car is worth buying at all, using a market value comparison. To decide whether to buy, calculate equity as market value minus buyout price. If the market value is lower than the buyout price, the equity is negative, and turning the vehicle in is generally the financially superior choice. If the market value exceeds the buyout price, you have positive equity, and buying the car could make sense, including the possibility of buying and reselling. To estimate market value accurately, use multiple sources and focus on private party values when appropriate to triangulate a realistic figure. With those fundamentals, let's test your understanding with a quick quiz. Quiz time. Which factor most strongly changes your total cost of a lease buyout? Option A, buying now versus 4 weeks before maturity. Option B, the loan interest rate you secure. Option C, the color of your car. Option D, the number of prior owners. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is B, the loan interest rate you secure. The APR heavily influences the total interest paid over the life of the loan, often amounting to thousands of dollars, whereas timing differences near maturity typically do not change the principal buyout price. Next, let's do a second quick question. Second quiz. If your car's market value is lower than your fixed buyout price, what is usually the best move? Option A, buy it anyway to avoid hassles. Option B, extend the lease indefinitely. Option C, turn the vehicle in and walk away. Option D, refinance before buying. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is C, turn the vehicle in and walk away. If the market value is below your buyout price, you would be purchasing negative equity. Walking away avoids locking in that loss. Now, to cement the process, let's present a concise action checklist. Here is your concise action plan. First, verify state rules and whether a dealership is required, and obtain clear fee disclosures. Second, compare 3 to 4 lenders and lock the best rate you can. Third, confirm your total buyout amount, including residual, fees, and taxes. Fourth, estimate the vehicle's market value using multiple sources to decide whether to buy or walk away. Fifth, begin the process at least 10 days before maturity and account for holidays. Sixth, after the title transfer is complete, Immediately evaluate refinancing options to reduce your APR. With the checklist set, let's summarize key points. The main takeaways are as follows. First, the principal buyout price is driven by the residual value and usually does not change close to maturity. Second, the interest rate you obtain is the most significant factor affecting total cost. Third, start the process at least 10 days before maturity to avoid processing pitfalls. Fourth, comply with state rules and anticipate dealer involvement in fees where required. Fifth, if the market value is below the buyout price, walking away is typically best. If the market value is at or above the buyout price, buying can make sense. Sixth, consider refinancing soon after the title transfer to reduce interest expense. To wrap up visually, let's map the strategy as a mind map. This mind map centers on the lease buyout strategy. The first branch covers price basics, including residual value, principal buyouts, and fees. The second branch focuses on the market check, specifically comparing market value to the buyout price and choosing to walk away if the vehicle is underwater. The third branch addresses financing, where you shop multiple lenders, lock the best APR, and refinance after the title transfer. The fourth branch emphasizes timing, highlighting that you should start at least 10 days early and account for holiday risks. The fifth branch explains state rules, including whether a dealer is required, related fees, and DMV steps. The sixth branch outlines execution steps such as gathering documents, ensuring payment clearance, and handling the title transfer. Next, let's conclude with a quick summary. In summary, focus on securing the best financing rate rather than relying on calendar timing to change the principal price. Always run the market value versus buyout price test before committing to purchase. Start the process at least 10 days early to avoid delays. Verify your state's requirements and any dealer fees. Finally, after the title transfer, explore refinancing to reduce your interest expense. To close, I have a quick thank you and a call to action. Thank you for watching. If this video helped you, please like it, share it with someone facing a lease decision, and subscribe for more Smart Car Finance content. Finally, share your situation and state in the comments so we can help you think through your next steps.